Okay guys, well here we are with Logic 10.3, and before I kick off having a look at it, just to tell you that last night I put up a video on our channel. It's 20 minutes long and it shows the complete procedure to add a cheap USB 3 solid state external drive to your Mac, install Sierra on it, and then put Logic on that drive, and you can boot your Mac off that solid state Sierra drive and run Logic anytime if you don't want to overwrite your current hard drive with an Apple OS that will allow you to run this version of Logic. Okay, and I can tell you that when you go to set up the Sierra external SSD, there's a point at the end of the install where it will migrate everything from your internal hard drive on your Mac. It'll migrate your apps, your documents if you want to as well, and your settings across from the internal hard drive to the new Sierra install. So check out that video on our channel, and it's really painless and very quick to do. And I'm telling you, this iMac I'm using here, with the SSD drive now, I'm running it from that. It's like I've gone out and bought the most fastest Mac. You know, I can't even tell you how fast it has made this Mac now. It's incredible. So check that video out. But here we have Logic 10.3. Okay. Now, of course, it's got the complete graphic makeover. So it's got this new flat look in keeping with the whole, you know, let's make everything look like the iPhone that Apple is about nowadays with its OS. And I actually like it. Everything seems that much more crisp and sort of nippy, right? Only the shell of the program has got this makeover. The plugins look the same, the smart controls look the same, but you know, the arrange area here, the mixer, the editors, they've got this new flat graphic makeover, right? All right. So let's start checking out some of the features. I want to start with this new sort of stereo panning. Okay, because I'm not sure that's been properly explained in some of the other videos out there looking at the new Logic 10.3. So let's look at this new pan control. Okay, now let's mute all these tracks. Here I've got a stereo audio track, and on it is a stereo file. Okay, there's a stereo file region here. On the left side of this stereo region is a vocal, and on the right side is a guitar. Okay. Now, so there's the track. Here's its channel in the inspector column, and there's the pan. Now, if we right-click on the pan, it's actually set by default to what Logic's pan controls usually are, which is a balance control, right? Which isn't really a proper pan control. Okay, with the balance control, because this is a stereo track and channel, right? So there's a stereo signal coming down this channel and meeting this pan control. A stereo signal is coming down the channel with a completely different left and right signal, and that stereo signal comes into this pan control, and then however we adjust this pan or balance control, that determines how much of the left and how much of the right of that stereo signal is going to be fed into the left and right main bus, which goes off to your speakers, right? So all this a normal pan control does, it's really a balance control. If we move it more and more to the left, we're simply just turning down the signal on the right, which makes the left sound as if everything's going to the left. And if we balance more and more to the right, we're actually just turning down the level on the left, so it makes it sound as if it's going further and further over to the right. But we're not actually panning the stereo signal, we're simply turning down more of the right side of the signal or turning down more of the left side of the signal, right? Let me show you that so you can understand it. Okay, let's mute this track. And below it, I've got these two tracks. Now these are mono tracks, right? And here is two mono regions. Okay, this one is the left side of this stereo recording split, and this is the right side of this stereo recording split. So I've got the two sides of the stereo recording here split, and each one is on its own mono track. Oh, wait a minute, that should be a mono track, and that should be a mono track. Thank you. Right, there we go. So we've got the left and right signals split, right, each on their own mono track. One is balanced all the way to the left signal's balanced all the way to the left, and the right side is balanced all the way to the right, and it sounds the same, right? But the difference is now I have true control of the stereo pan, because I can adjust the position of the left side of the signal, and I can adjust the position of the right side of the signal. Therefore I can adjust the width of the stereo signal. If I bring these balance controls, this one for the left, bring it up, and this one for the right, bring it up. Now my total stereo spread between the left and the right is only from here on the left to here on the right. I've brought the stereo image in width. Right, now it's full width. Okay, now it's sort of half width. Okay, now it's very narrow. And if I center both of these, come on. If I center them both like that, now both the left and the right are centered. Okay, so this is this allows me to do real stereo panning, because I've got control over both sides of the signal. So I could balance the left side fully to the left, and the right side just a little bit to the left, and now the width of my pan of my stereo signal is from here to here, so all that, and then that stereo width signal is being pushed to the left. Yeah, with the left side fully to the left and the right side just a little bit to the left. Or let's do it the other way. Let's put the right side all the way to the right and the left side just a little bit to the right. So we've got a stereo spread being pushed a little bit to the left, to the right. Okay, and this is what you used to do in the old days with you know, channels on a mixer. You could take the left and right output from a synthesizer and feed the left and right signals into two separate mono channels, pan one left, one right, and then you can adjust the width of that pan with the independent pan control. You've got a balance control for the left, a balance control for the right, so you control how much the left goes to the left and how much the right is going to the right and how wide that stereo pan is, and you can adjust the width and then position the left and right of that stereo spread in any direction you want, centered to the little bit to the left, all the way to the left, etc., etc. Right? Which you can only do this way. Right, let's just Alt left click and reset those and mute that. Okay. So now let's go back to our stereo track here. So here we've got the stereo signal again. Let's look at its channel down here in the inspector column. Okay, so there's the pan as usual. Now, if I right click, and this only works on stereo channels, if I right click, I can switch it to stereo pan. Don't like that, and then it looks different. Now there's still that little black dot is the center position, but we now have this ring going around the outside of the pan pot, and it extends all the way in either direction as far as it can go, left and right. And at the tip of each side is a little white blob when you mouse. Okay, now what you do is you bring the mouse just below the pot, left click and hold down it and push and pull to change the width of the stereo image. And once you've set the width of the stereo image, you can pan the entire stereo image in either direction. So we're doing real stereo panning here. And I can adjust the width to be really wide or totally centered, so that the left and the right are kind of overlaid on top of each other, almost like mono. So as I pan the stereo image from left to right, we don't hear one side disappear if we go in either direction. We hear both the left and right being panned left or right. Because this now allows me to pan the left and right side of the stereo signal coming into the pan. Yeah? And the other thing is, so Alt left click to reset. The other thing is, if you command left click on it, it goes orange, and we've reversed the left and right side. Command left click to put it the right way around again. Okay, so there you go. This is a new stereo pan. Alrighty. Let's look at some other things. Well, one thing that's cute is the metronome here. It's in the same place as before. Right click on it, you get the same menus and everything. You can go into the settings, whatever, but now it's animated. The pendulum moves from left to right with the click. It's quite funny. Let's mute everything and just listen to that. Here we go. Left, left, right, left, right, left, right. Look at it go. I like that. That's pretty funny, that. Additionally, look over here on the transport controls. The record, play and stop button have got little white arrows that point down on the background when you mouse over them, and that means you can right click and access menus to adjust or change the mode of the record, play and the stop buttons. Additionally, with the record button here, you can go directly into the project record settings from this little menu. Look, record settings, bam, that takes you into the project record settings. Whereas we used to have to do it here, file, project settings, recording. Okay. Now the beats and project display here, whatever. Yeah, the bars and beats display here, whatever you want to call it. The gear wheel isn't over this side anymore. You drop the list down here to change the display, but it's still beats and project, beats and time, a big beat display, a big time display, and then you go to custom, and there you can change the division grid. If you don't know this in Logic, this is where you change the division. And the division is the grid. Let's make a cycle range across one bar there. The division is the resolution of the grid in the arrange area and piano edit. So the default is 16 sixteenths, right? So you get 4 divisions per quarter beat, and you can change it here. Now I've changed the grid to 8ths, the division to 8ths, 30 seconds, 64ths, etc. Right, so that's where that is, in case you always wondered. I'll put this back to beats and project. Now, while we're on the subject of grids, they've brought in some things for us to be able to kind of adjust. Not as comprehensive as it used to be in the old days, but preferences, display, and now in tracks here, in the display preferences, the default background for the arrange area is set to custom, and there's a slider, and you can adjust it from bright to dark. And then for some reason it's completely pointless, they've included a preset called dark and a preset called bright, but I can't see the point of that, because when it's in custom you can go from one or to the other anyway, you know. So and then the grid lines themselves, they can be adjusted. The vertical grid lines, bar, beat and division lines, and the horizontal lines separating the lanes of the tracks, right? They're set to automatic by default, but detick automatic, and now you can adjust the vertical line intensity at its default sort of light grey colour, or switch it to be a black colour if you want, and adjust its intensity. And the horizontal is black ticked by default. You can increase or decrease its intensity, and it can be changed to the grey if you want, and you can do it however you like. Okay, I'll put it back to automatic. So we got that, but sadly for things like in the piano roll, it's still, all we've got is, look, editors, all we've got is the bright background on or off. Okay, you can't do anything with the grid here or anything like that. Okay. Anyway, so we've got that. Now, what else we got? Yeah, here's another one. Let's just unmute all this stuff. Yeah, so you're working away on your project, and you know you're kind of zoomed in here or something, working on this bit, like on these two regions maybe. I don't know what you're doing, but you're zoomed in. And there's a good kind of working zoom when you're working on a couple of regions in the middle of the project, doing some, I don't know, automation or something. I don't know, whatever. But we've got up here now. This is not a TIE fighter from Star Wars. This is the horizontal auto zoom, and the vertical auto zoom, which we always had in the view menu here. There's a button for it here as well. So we can now horizontal auto zoom. So I'm zoomed in here working on this bit, right? And then I don't need to zoom out or anything to view my entire project. I just hit that, bam, and the whole project zooms out, so I see the entire length of the project from the first to the very last region in the project. So I can then go, right, where's the bit I need to edit next? Oh yeah, it's up here where this verse is or whatever. And just select the region, put the player there, and bam, on auto zoom like that, and I'm there ready to work on this. And then I do a little bit of work on that, and then auto zoom horizontal. I see the whole project right down here I want to be now, like that, and bam, on zoom, and I'm back there to work, right? Okay. And so when you auto zoom horizontal like that, the entire length of your project from the first to last region fits the width. And if you bring in an extra editor at the side, it auto adjusts to keep that. So if I bring in the Apple loops, you know, it just narrows, it gets more narrow, but so I can still see the entire length of the project. Close that sidebar, it extends out again. Open the library over here again, it compacts a little bit more, so I still see the whole arrangement, and back out again, etc. And now back to the original working zoom. Okay, so we got that. And the vertical one, there's a button for it here as well now. Okay, however many tracks you've got, they completely fill the vertical. And again, that auto adjusts, so if you bring in an editor below, it adjusts the height of the tracks. You know, the stack of tracks, maintaining the tracks auto zoomed vertically no matter how high the arrange area is, right? Okay, so we got that. Now let's look at a couple of other things. Right, let's look at something else. In the functions here, we got this selection-based processing, right? Now, this has been talked about a bit, but I'm not sure that people really understand it. Look, on any track, you got, you know, all the recordings or MIDI data or whatever. And everything on a track plays through the channel for the track, where the effects and EQ and the pan and the volume, etc. affects everything on that track. So everything will play through the same channel strip, giving it the same sound. But this selection-based processing, you think of this as like an external rack that you can patch in and use on individual bits, so to speak, right? Now, you've got two effects racks, A and B. In any individual rack, A or B, you can install your own plugins of choice to build up an effects chain that you want. Each plugin effect set a particular way to create a chain of effects that gives a particular sound. And when you've created that effects chain, you can save it. Okay. You can do that for rack A and B. Manually create your own chains, right, of effects to set up whatever effects you want. Or you choose A or B and you can load presets from here. Now they call them channel strip presets, but these are not the same as any of the channel strip presets available in the library for regular channels. There's a collection of dynamics, settings, effects, utility and vocal tools. So in this first rack I'm going to load up the effect settings called Stutter Medium, and it loads all those effects onto there. And then in the B rack I'm going to load up one called Effects Ghost in a Bottle. And I could have constructed these myself, but you can load them from the library as well, and any you construct you can save, right? So if I take this region here, right, choose rack A or B. If I choose A, I can pre-listen, and by default when you click pre-listen to listen to a highlighted region or more than one region, it will solo that content and it will put a cycle range around it. So I'll pre-listen to this region with effects rack A on it. Okay, now here's the same region with effects rack B on it. Let's go back to A. Right, while you're pre-listening, you can open any of the effects in the chain and tweak them as you audition with the pre-listen. Right, so you can open the plugins and tweak them to fine-tune as you pre-listen, right? Okay, now so if I want to apply rack A to this region, I can pre-listen, do any tweaks, and then I've got further options. I can, instead of just applying the rack of effects to that region, I can create a new take. I can tick to add an effect tail, meaning if there's any effects in the rack that are being applied to the selected region that has got decay qualities like reverb or delay, then when the player gets to the end of the region, it won't just suddenly stop. The audio this is being applied to will stop, but any effects that have got decay will be allowed to decay from that end point, right? Also, you can affect the gain. No change, the default, loudness, compensation, overload, protection, or normalize. Right. So I'm going to apply rack A, the stutter medium, to this region. Apply, boom. And it's applied that rack of effects to just this region. And then if I choose that region there, and we'll use rack B, pre-listen. Right, and apply rack B to that region. Now it's got that flange ghost in a bottle set of effects applied to it. Yeah, it's pretty much instant, no bouncing down required or anything like that. Yeah, it's just clever. Now, as long as you do not change any of these, right? You mustn't change once you've applied these effects. You can't change either of these because then you will not be able to undo. Right. Now, if I choose A and do undo, I don't need to select the region. Any region that has had A applied to it, it will be undone. Right. And B, select B. Any region that you don't have to highlight the regions. Any region that's had the effects rack B applied to it will be undone when I undo. That's only possible as long as you don't change these once you've created them. Right. So now I've undone the effect on both of those. Okay. So it's very clever like that. And if let me just make a few more copies of this region. And let me make these two tracks here. Make these two stereo tracks, and let's drag some copies down onto this track as well. Move them across a little bit like that so they're staggered. Yeah. And again onto this one like that or something. Yeah, so let's just do it again. So you can take a bunch of regions next door to each other like that and apply A or B. I could apply A and it's applied A to all of those, right? Undo. Or you can, shift and select regions that are on different tracks and apart from each other. And apply A or B to them. And it'll apply it to all the highlighted ones. Done. Okay. And again, they don't have to be highlighted. As long as you don't change this rack, you can undo. Choose A, undo, it undoes it from every region and they are highlighted to show the ones that have undone, right? And same for B. If there's any left with B on, you can click undo. There aren't though, right? Now it not only works with selected regions, but with the marquee tool as well. And if you think about it, this is very clever. You can draw a marquee selection. That can be on a single track across one or multiple regions, or it can be across multiple tracks to cover an area of the arrangement, and then you can apply either rack to everything in the marquee. Now this could be very useful in things like, you know, if you're doing an electronics tune, dance tune or something, one section of the song, you've got the arrangement all set, and you can draw a marquee range over a section of the song and apply a special effect to those parts, just for a specific section or something. Or maybe you're doing some film score. So you're doing a film score, and this is some original music that you've created. You've got this picture running, which you're following along, and you've made some music because that way you're not got to pay any royalty fees or anything, or copyright to anybody if you use some other music. And in this scene, in the whatever you're editing the music for, and the sound and everything, there's some character in a club or a room, and there's music playing. And then at this point here, when you queue up the video, this point here, the person steps through a door into another room, and then they mess around in that room doing something, and then here they step back into the room with the music. But obviously in this bit here, where they're inside the room, usually what happens is it makes everything muffled, right? So let's set up a new rack on here. I'll reset that one, and I'll manually create one here with just an EQ. And we're going to roll off all the top end. You know, when you step into some room, it makes all the music go bassy. It takes all the top end away, right? And so I can audition that. It's applying it to. Hang on. It's applying it to all the tracks that are part of that selection, I think. Wait a minute though. Well, for the pre-listen, it's applying it just to the track that you've got selected, isn't it? Okay, but it will be applied to all the regions that fall, parts, not the whole region, but the bits of the regions that fall within that marquee. Let's apply. And it's done it. Okay, so now if we hit play, what we hear is this. Let me move that out of the way. If we hit play, this is what we hear. So the music's playing normally. Then the guy steps into the room. The music goes dull in the background. Obviously you've got your Foley, footsteps and things, whatever the person's doing, and then they step out of open the door to go back into the room with the music. Oh, come on, play. And it changes. So you can make a section of your audio be affected, or particular regions in your audio to be affected, and it's all independent of whatever's happening on the channel strips for in individual tracks, right? It's quite clever. Let me undo that. So this is pretty cool. This selection-based processing. Okay. Okay. Now what else have we got? Let's see another good one. Well, we've got all these regions here. Check this out. You can select a bunch of regions on the track, and with the fade tool you can fade them all at the same time, either end. Adjust the curve, it does all of them. Yeah. And come on back. But you can do it on any regions. You could have a bunch of regions. Oops. You can have I can select a bunch of regions all randomly apart on different tracks and things like that, and apply the fade, and it'll fade all of them all of them in the set. Yeah, curves work, everything. That's pretty cool. Undo. Let's go back to that. What else we got? Yeah, one thing you might have noticed. Look down here. There's the track. Here's its channel. When I go to select a plugin, the most common plugins that I load are in a specialist at the top called Recent. That's really cool, because there are certain plugins you tend to use the most, so they're always here at the top for you. Where you haven't got to drill through all the lists to get them each time. That's really cool. And also, if I Alt-C, bring up the colour box, we've got an additional row of colours. I mean, it's the same ones, but just in a darker hue, you know, like that. Okay, and there's also this default button now, so you know I can set the selected regions to whatever colour I want, but if I hit default, it'll put them back to the default colour for the track, which is blue for audio tracks. And here, let's just auto zoom like that so I see all of this. Let's put these down onto their own instrument track, these regions. Yeah, these ones here on this instrument track, for example, I could colour them any colour I like, right? But if I hit default, they'll go back to green because that's the default colour for regions on any instrument track, etc. Okay, so there's a few extra colours we've got there. What else is there? Oh, I know what there is. Yeah, let's move all this stuff out of the way. Oops, still got the fade tool. Right. Here's another one. Here's another for you. Right, check this out. Right, there's a track. Now, bring up the shortcut menu for the tracks. And we've got track header components, track alternatives activated. And now each track has a little, next to its title, it has a little pair of up and down arrows. If you mouse over them, it says track alternatives menu. Right, just to the right of the track title. Okay, so here's an audio track here. And I'll set it to mono audio track. Is it? No, it's stereo. Let's set it to mono. And let's have it receive on my mic input. So I will just add a bit of recording here. Here we go. La 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 la. Okay, like that. Right, now I've done my recording. Okay. Now this recording here, I go to the menu and I can do new, or I can duplicate this recording. So let's do new. And when I do new, this recording will be hidden. Boom. But it's there. It's been made inactive, and it's the first recording I made. A. There it is back. Now let's go to the new slot, B, and do a new recording. The previous one that's inactive, that you can't see, will not play back. There we go. That's the second recording. B. Right. And again I'll do new and make another recording. Da 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 da. Right. So I've got three recordings now. A, B, and C. Now this A, B and C, D, as many as you want, it covers the entire, let's use the auto horizontal zoom for that. It covers the entire length of the track. So A has got these two regions further down there as part of the whole thing, right? Including the recording I made, but these were on the track further down. So everything on the track, when you do new, it hides them all, and then you get a new empty track to record again, either a little bit or a bunch of regions one after the other, or a recording all the way from the start to the finish, whatever. Then you create new and do another one. Okay. Now you can reveal these hidden ones. Show inactive, and it opens a bit like when you're doing comping, right? With these sub tracks inside the actual track. So there's the comp we're currently listening to, C. There's the first one there, A, and there's B. Now these little on-off buttons there, I can make A active. A will now play while it's open like this. B will now play. Turn that off on the one at the top, which happens to be C, will play. Or if I go and get this A one here, I press the arrow, it pushes it up to the top. So that's A at the top now. This one's B and this one's C. Let's push C to the top. Click the arrow. Boom. C is at the top now. It says C there, right? Look, C. And there's A and B. Right. So the other alternative tracks, contents, let's call it. What do they call it? They call it, I keep forgetting, they call it track alternatives, right? So it's quite cool that, because you can have one track, but living inside the track are alternative track contents, be they MIDI patterns or audio, and you can jump between them and try them, and that can be for the whole length of a track or just a section of the song. So you might have 16 bars somewhere in the middle, which is a guitar solo. On the one guitar track you do a bunch of solos, and each one is a track alternative. Now when you've got the mix all pretty much done and you start, right, now to audition the guitar solos. Right, well let's start with A. Right, boom, let's listen to A, the guitar solo A. That's not bad. Let's listen to B now. Now B's at the top, and you play and listen to the whole mix, but with that alternative, that track alternative playing, which is a slightly different solo. Okay, let's try C now. Boom, that's now the active one at the top, and you listen to that one and you choose the one you want. Now once you've chosen the ones you want, I'm going to choose A, the first one I made, which includes these bits that are already on the track and the new recording, right? And you can either just hide all the unused ones again, hide inactive, right? Or let's show inactive, or you can do delete inactive. I'll delete them. Boom, gone. Now it's just the one take, or the one track alternative, which is A, which is all these regions on that track. Okay, it works on instrument channels too, or anything with MIDI content, and it can be very interesting, cool for that, because like here for example, I've got this this bit of MIDI. Let's say, you know, this is some pattern, right? That's the contents on that track, and then I do duplicate. It duplicates it. So A and B both have the same pattern, but then I go into the editor and I tweak somehow. I tweak one of them to be different, subtly different, right? And then I've got two alternatives, A and the one with a slightly different tweak, and I can jump between the two and say which one's the best. You know what, I actually prefer B. So B's the one I've got there, and then I just delete inactive or leave it hidden, whatever I like, right? So then you can copy with audio as well. You know, you can do duplicate, right? So that's this what's it called again? Track alternatives. It's similar to comping, except you can't comp the layers. You just choose this one, choose that one, or choose that one, or choose that one, you know. But it's pretty cool, that, right? Okay, so that's that. Let's turn it off. Track menu, track header components, turn off track alternatives. Okay, there's that. What else have we got? Oh yeah, there's this other thing. When you go to trim the edge of a region, it shows you the content outside of the region. That's content that exists, but if you bring this region edge in, you're kind of removing it. It's still there, but you're saying just that all that MIDI content only play up to that point, and after that don't play the rest. But when you go to extend it out, you see the content that still exists that's not being covered by the region, and that works at the front or the back. And it works on audio as well, look. Yeah. Get a ghost copy underneath showing you the entire length of the audio relative to which part of the audio you are actually adjusting to be played by the region. That's pretty cool. You've got that. That's the region editing design reveals the waveform or unused MIDI data while trimming. We looked at the true stereo panning. Oh yeah, there's now 256 buses. Why? I have no idea. Why the hell do we need 256 buses? But believe it or not, there is 256 bloody buses now. And that's kind of ironic, considering that also this version changes one thing that means that we won't have to use as many buses, and that is you can now sidechain directly from an instrument, which is fantastic. So look, here's an instrument track here. I've got an Ultrabeat on it. Okay, and let's choose an empty pattern. And then I'll get a hi-hat, and I'll just put in some hi-hats every other 16th like that. That's going to give me a tick 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 hi-hat pattern, right? Here we go, let's mute that. Why am I not hearing it? Because it's muted. Okay, so there's the hi-hat click coming from the Ultrabeat. Okay, let's title that track Ultrabeat, which has an A in it, just there, Ultrabeat. Right, there we go. Now, let me move this bit of audio across here, and let me make a new audio recording on this track here. With the metronome on, here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Like that. Now, on this track, on the channel for this track, I shall put a noise gate. And now, instead of having to send the output of this Ultrabeat to a bus and then use the bus for the sidechain for the gate on the audio track, I can choose the Ultrabeat directly. Any instrument can be assigned to the sidechain of an effect plugin on any other track. As well, you know, you could always assign audio and buses, but now you can assign the output of instruments directly. Thank God, because Cubase's done that for about 15 years. So now Ultrabeat I choose for the sidechain for this gate over this audio, and the hi-hat will gate. I will cause the gate to open and close on that piece of audio. Yeah, fantastic. So direct sidechaining from instrument outputs now, which is an absolute bloody godsend. It really is. Right. What else we got? Oh yeah, well there's the 256 buses, we did that. Logic Pro. Now for the 64-bit summon engine, that's good news. Loads and loads and loads of headroom for when you're summing big amounts of tracks. You can import music XML files now. We've looked at the color palette. I think that's it. That's most of the, and there's been stability fixes and all that as well. And some performance fixes. Alchemy, there's been a bunch of stuff to Alchemy, but I never use it. It's a nightmare, that bloody synth. It really is. It's so complicated. I just haven't got enough years left in my life to learn how to use the damn thing, Yeah, this is important if you need voiceover accessibility. A lot of this stuff now will announce via voiceover. There's a bunch of other stuff, but they're your main ones. I mean, there's some stupid things like you can now. I mean, this is one of them. It's ridiculous. Whereas it is, you can drum kit designer, drum machine designer. Yeah, one of the announcements in the update is you can now in Drum Machine Designer you don't have to have icons on the pads. What bloody difference does that make? Right, yeah, you can right click to choose the icon, but there are no icons available for the Drum Machine Designer collection of icons. So we've still got the same problem which you will learn if you watch my very in-depth drum machine designer tutorial, where in some of it I'm showing you how to make your own custom individual voices, which could be saved in the library alongside the factory voices. And one of the big problems with that is that because you can't load an icon onto the pad, if you get a raw pad and you want to make a custom snare, you can't load a snare icon onto the pad, for Christ's sake. You've got to load a snare from the library to get the right icon on the pad and then delete all of its contents and build your own contents behind the pad. But it's just crazy. So they still haven't included the icons for Drum Machine Designer. They're not here. But the big deal they're talking about is you can remove the icon from a pad, which you would do by going to Other, click No Icon, and it has no icon. But so what? Why does that make any difference? And the worst thing about it is you can't bring it back. There's no way to bring it back. Right? You can untick no icon, but it's still not there. The only way to bring that icon back on that pad is you've got to load a different kit and then go back to the original kit that you were on, and the icon will be back. So it's a bit stupid. I can't see what the point of that is being listed in an update. They reckon they've done some work on the flex as well, particularly the flex pitch. So yeah, that'll do you though. Oh yeah, and plugins can be inserted on stereo tracks, can be inserted as stereo or dual mono now as well. But that's your main stuff, right? You know, have a look at the list. But there you go. Logic Pro X 10.3. I've got to be honest, I love it. And with this SSD drive now on this iMac, it's like I've got a brand new Mac. It's so fast with the SSD. I mean, just mind-blowingly fast. And I really like this new look to Logic, and it all seems to be running very, very efficient and much less CPU, and I'm not getting any problems at all. Yeah, so Logic 10.3. If you want to run it but you haven't got Sierra or El Capitan, I believe it can run on El Capitan as well, but if you don't have that and you're running Mavericks, and you think, well, I'd like to run this new Logic, well, go and check the video out, as I said at the beginning, on our channel. I put it up last night, and it's heavily edited down to just be 20 minutes long, but it shows the complete procedure for installing an external SSD drive. I'm doing it on an iMac, but you can do it on any Mac, and get Logic running on it. Yeah, easy peasy stuff. And then if you want to, you can run your Mac off that SSD from then onwards, and trust me, it's way faster than an internal SATA drive, way faster. Okay, so I hope that's useful. Logic 10.3, and I'll see you for the next thing, whatever I do.